All right. Hello and welcome to those that are just joining. We'll get started in a couple minutes.
Hello, this is the interpreter speaking. There's another interpreter here. Is that right?
Looks like she's waving her hand. So there are two of you, Amanda and
Oh, I see. Carmen. Hello, hello. We're teaming. Would you like to start? 15 minutes? 15?
Yep, sounds good.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Great. Hello and welcome if you just joined. We are waiting a couple moments, giving folks a chance to join the meeting. At DOH, we typically start at 5 after. I think we'll give it a couple more minutes and start at maybe 3 after today. Giving folks a chance to start. This is the Allison Immel webinar. I Heart Sugar, How to Break Up and Stay Friends with Sugar. Yay, Sabine, welcome. Thanks for being here today. This topic was actually Sabine's idea.
Oh, was it?
She said she knew you from years ago.
Yep. And the kids were little.
Isn't it a small world?
Yeah, it is. It's a good topic. I mean, yeah, this can be playful, but it also can be really serious, you know. So the slides are not as playful as the title of the talk. We are serious about this.
All right, we're up to 31. Let's give it another 2 minutes here. We're at 12:01. Welcome to those just joining. And we'll start in another minute or so. This is the Allison Immel webinar, I Heart Sugar, How to Break Up and Stay Friends with Sugar.
Should have like music playing.
I know. One day I'll get savvy.
Oh, you're good. I think you're doing a good job. I think it's quite impressive to be able to gather this many people at lunchtime. It's good. It's what we need, you know. We need to be sharing all this stuff together. So you're good. We don't need music. People are going to get their lunch. It's all right.
Yeah. All right, it's 12:03. Why don't we get started? I will start with the introduction. We are recording this webinar as we speak. My name's Kim Concepcion. I'm the wellness coordinator here at DOH. I use she, her pronouns, and we are happy to invite other state agencies to join us in this webinar. We're real excited to have Allison Immel back for a different topic. We just finished a 3-part series on empowered metabolic health, 3 different webinars that are out there and available and recorded. You can reach out to me to find a link if you're outside of DOH. If you're inside DOH, those are available in our video library. So before we get started, we are recording, and for those outside of DOH, I will send the slides once I have them. It will be a few weeks before I have an external link to share a video outside of DOH. All right, so I do want to welcome our ASL interpreter. I think we have two, Amanda and Carmen, and also our captioner, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here today and supporting our event.
And I'm gonna be slower today.
Yes.
And you can tell me too, just tell me to slow down if I just start, you know.
Right. So for those of you that haven't been at one of our previous seminars with Allison, she is a board certified physician's associate specializing in urogynecology and metabolic medicine for women. She's functional nutrition therapy practitioner, fellowship trained functional medicine clinician, and heart-centered vitality guide. She helps educate women about tending to their temple through optimizing metabolic health, balancing hormones, gut healing, heart-led coaching. We use functional labs, empathetic communication, unraveling and rewriting old stories to help you thrive in a healthy body and be your true self. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Allison.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Yeah, my name's Allison. I've been in the community in Olympia for about 20 years, providing care in lots of different ways. But I think that I first started out as a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, and where I used the foundations of the physiology of the body to help people feel better before I went to PA school. And
Allison, can you pause for just 1 second? I don't have our ASL provider highlighted. I had one person highlighted. Trying to make sure. Oh, yes, she's there. Okay.
And just so for you guys, you can see the slides. Everything's good over there?
Yes, I can see the slides.
Okay, and I can't, and then I also can't see the chat. Are you going to moderate? You're going to do the chat?
Yes, I'm moderating the chat.
Okay, okay, and it just, tell me when to put the brakes on. So in different specialties that I've practiced in as a PA, I have always come back to this concept, blood sugar balance. And I say the same things over and over again. So when I was asked to talk about detoxing sugar, which I don't really talk about detoxing sugar, I was like, oh yeah, this is such an important topic, and reframed it a little bit for today to talk about balancing blood sugar and how we do that. Because we all know that we are supposed to eat a clean diet. We know that eating sugar all the time has health consequences, but it's not just a matter of willpower. It's not just a matter of like just turning it on and turning it off. It's complicated. I mean, it's incredibly complicated. And so we're going to go over some of the complexities, and then we'll just narrow it down to the simple solutions so that you can feel like you're making empowered food choices that help to promote a healthy lifestyle, but also to prevent disease. So thanks for being here. Oh, is it going to let me? There we go. Okay, so what we're going to cover is how sugar and ultra-processed foods keep us in the loop of survival and addiction. I put addiction in quotes. The role of cortisol dysregulation in food choices. So cortisol is the stress hormone. Which nutrient-dense foods help you stabilize cravings, certain food plans that you can follow if you need more specific guidance, supplements, medications, and other therapies to promote insulin sensitivity, and then big ideas for blood sugar stability. So you'll have some big take-home points, because we do kind of get big and then get nitty-gritty, and then we want to pan out to the simple solutions. This material is for educational purposes only. I am just sharing data, my clinical experience, my own passion for food and for rhythm and balance, especially as it pertains to health. This is not medical advice, and please consult your personal healthcare provider to address any chronic or acute health concerns. Okay, why do we focus on blood sugar balance? So blood sugar dysregulation, meaning blood sugar bouncing up and then popping down, dropping down, leads to hyperglycemia, so too much glucose in the bloodstream. Then that leads to too much insulin in the bloodstream. That can lead to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, type 3 diabetes, we know as Alzheimer's, dementia. So blood sugar dysregulation causes basically complex chronic illness. Overfeeding opportunistic bacteria and fungi in the gut can lead to dysbiosis. So you're feeding bad bugs in the gut, you get an overgrowth. That leads to this condition called metabolic endotoxemia, which can promote autoimmunity, inflammation, and cardiovascular disease. Metabolic, we could do a whole thing just on metabolic endotoxemia. So when you have an overgrowth of these in your microbiome, if your microbiome is just imbalanced, it actually can lead to chronic disease in the body because they're bossy. Those bacteria are bossy. They tell us what to do. They are in control. Hyperinsulinemia. So if you have too much insulin from too much sugar in the diet, we have a lot of neuroinflammation. So we see it in our mood. We see it in our behavior. We see it in nerve pain. When there's too much insulin, if your blood sugar is bouncing all over the place, you can actually have more pain, more behavioral issues. And then this is where we see a lot of like hyperactivity in schools, big mood swings or irritability. And this is stemming from that excess inflammation in the brain from insulin. And then lack of nutrient-dense foods in the diet can lead to nutrient deficiencies. This can lead to mitochondrial dysfunction. Your mitochondria are the little energy powerhouses in every cell, and that can result in chronic fatigue, chronic disease. It's an important topic for sure. And I want this to hit home. It is not necessarily a lack of willpower. Being addicted to sugar or being, having a sweet tooth or not being able to cut sugar out of the diet. We want to be super mindful. Like there is no emotional charge. There doesn't need to be an emotional charge. There doesn't need to be any blaming, no shaming, no judgment around what you're eating now, where you are. This is not about willpower. This is about balancing biochemistry, paying attention and being aware of your environment and how it affects you. And and really like just keeping it very, very simple and sticking to the facts. So what we say is that there's only one truth. There's not your truth and my truth. There's our experience of the truth, but there's one truth. And the truth is that food's not good or bad. It's just doing something to your body. And is that promoting health or is that promoting disease? So I do say this is a biochemical, environmental, and social and a spiritual issue. So we know that sugar is addictive. So it acts as a psychostimulant, an opioid. It triggers a dopamine release in the brain. So dopamine is associated with reward. And we hear this all the time, dopamine with screens, dopamine with nicotine, alcohol, drugs, food, shopping, sex, all kinds of things can actually participate and activate that reward system. And sugar is it's no exception. So it is highly, highly addictive, especially when it's chronic and intermittent. So if you're getting little bits all the time, it's just going to perpetuate that feedback loop, which is why we say, I'm sure this is why someone was like, well, how do we detox off sugar? How do you get it out of your system? It's really, this is why that initially the name of the talk was, how do you break up with it and stay friends? It's like, you don't want it out of your life altogether. You want to create harmony and balance so that you can experience Dolce Vita. You want to be able to have birthday cake every now and then and not be binging on sugar for the rest of the week. You want moderation in your life. You want to be the one in control of your appetite and satiety. And you lose some of that control. We give that power away when there's a chronic and intermittent exposure to sugar. We know that it's energy rich and can elevate the blood sugar levels really fast. And that causes the release of insulin. Then when you have excess insulin, you're going to be releasing glucose stores also. So this idea that like when people, they only eat a little bit of sugar and they still have this addictive experience with it. It's not just the sugar itself. It's the consequences of the sugar intake. So when you eat sugar and you secrete insulin, all these other compensatory mechanisms are going to be happening after the fact to stabilize blood glucose. And so if you just have a little bit of sugar, people are like, I don't know why I'm gaining weight. I just have a little bit of this and I'm not even eating anything. It's what's happening in the background to stabilize glucose that is causing weight gain. And so 50% of the glucose that is in the bloodstream is coming from what you eat, about 50%. The other 50% is coming from the liver. You have these mechanisms that release stored glycogen from the liver to raise your body's glucose. Your body is tending towards homeostasis all the time. It needs to keep you balanced. It needs to keep your brain on. It needs to keep your heart pumping. It's going to go find it and it's going to go create it. And so when it's constantly when you're not giving your body consistent nutrition and you're depending on sugar, which again creates more up and down, you actually are going to be exhausting the system and you create insulin resistance. So you're not as sensitive to it anymore. So, I mean, this slide is just data to support what we're talking about. This intermittent sucrose administration, like just having this little bit of sugar added to the system creates these high withdrawal, just ups and downs. It's basically like a roller coaster. And then your biochemistry's feeling that. So key findings on sugar addiction specifically. We're talking about this because I want everyone to feel validated. I want you to know, like, it's like a hijacking of your nervous system when there's too much sugar involved. So brain reward pathways, sugar triggers the dopamine and the opioid receptor stimulation that reinforces that binge-like eating behavior. So it is definitely like once the, what is it? Once the horse is out of the barn, like it's off. Addictive behaviors in animal models, access to intermittent access to sugar produces those withdrawal signs, and tolerance and sensitization. So you're just now preferring all of this and you need it. The supernormal stimulation. So this is, I really love this. Due to evolution in environments with limited sugar, the brain reacts to modern, high concentration, intense sweetness as supernormal stimulus that bypasses self-control mechanisms. So you have a self-control, we have an inherent, innate self-control mechanisms. That's your leptin and your ghrelin. But when you have exposure to this super sweet, intermittent exposure to sweet, you basically will supersede that. You bypass it. It's commandeered completely. So you can try to take sugar out. You can try to cut it out, but if you're allowing a little bit in, especially with artificial sweeteners, it's going to override your leptin and your ghrelin, and that's for satiety and hunger. So it's really important to remember that it's just not all you. Like we have to override and reset the system so that the biochemistry gets back to its blueprint and it doesn't get overridden by this intermittent sugar exposure. So food cravings, like what we're talking about, are associated with these imbalances in these hormones. Ghrelin is the stomach hormone that is released when you are hungry. It tells the body, go ahead and go get food. That's that growling. When the stomach is empty, you secrete ghrelin. It says, go get the food. You have leptin hormone. That's your satiety hormone. That is telling you you're full, you've got enough. It also tells you that the fat cells are sending a signal back to the body being like, we're good, we've got enough stores, you can quit eating now. And then serotonin. Serotonin is amazing for promoting a sense of well-being. It just basically takes you out of that fight flight and says, everything's okay here. And so we know that when these hormones are off, we're going to have more cravings. And this is that food noise that we talk about, especially right now with GLP-1s being so popular. There is just a lot of, the thing I hear most from patients is, I just want to turn that food noise off. And it's real. And so this is what we're talking about with balancing the blood sugar. The tighter, so we go from this bouncy blood sugar, the tighter we are with our blood sugar, the less food noise there is. And I hope that makes sense. Does anybody have questions about that before we move on? And if you don't, that's totally fine.
Allison, we do have a couple of questions in the chat. I was holding them for a bit, but I think now might be a good time to ask.
Yeah.
Nicola wants to know how does adverse childhood experiences or commonly known as ACEs or childhood general trauma affect this process, if at all?
Yeah, it's great. We're going to talk a lot about cortisol here in a second. But it affects it a ton because we're talking about nervous system regulation or just sympathetic dominance versus parasympathetic. The more sympathetic dominant you are, the more sensitive you are to, the more sensitively your body perceives stress and raises cortisol, the more bouncy your blood sugar is going to be. So we'll talk about that. You said you had another question?
There was another one about how sugar substitutes affect this.
So yeah, we'll talk about it. It's a great, we're moving right into that. So ultra processed, yeah. But I can, this is what happens. It's like people are like, oh yeah, yeah. And not saying that everyone's excited, but maybe you are. Maybe you're like, yes, this is it. there are reasons this is happening and you're feeling it. And I really just want to validate that our innate taste buds and food preferences have been sort of commandeered by what's coming at us, whether it's trauma or the ultra processed food system. So UPFs, ultra processed foods, are definitely addictive. They are engineered, designed to be addictive to you so that they sell food. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just telling you, like I said, there's just facts. There's no emotional charge. Food companies want to sell food. So they use technology where they make the food to make it highly palatable. The perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat to hit the tongue just right. So it sends a message to the brain, says, give me more of that. Whole foods don't do that. Whole foods that don't have added, like food additives or haven't been chemically engineered or highly processed, don't do that. They signal the brain, we're good. They signal the rest of the system, we're good. But ultra processed foods are now, and the studies are getting, they're just keep getting pumped out, that ultra processed food consumption is associated with chronic disease.
Refrigerator, that's when you go back to bottom.
I think someone's camera or microphone's on. So UPF consumption is associated with increased risk of chronic disease in addition to obesity. So it's not just weight that is affected. We know that it increases visceral fat. We know that it creates blood sugar dysregulation. We know that it creates inflammation. And for the context of this talk today, it definitely perpetuates food cravings and a dependence on sugar for energy. So we flipped the food pyramid upside down. There was a modified food pyramid for a long period of time, but the imaging of this, I think, is really powerful. Prior to this year, the food pyramid had whole grains at the bottom, so high carb. And so when we're talking about sugar, we're talking about carbohydrate too, right? So you don't necessarily need to be addicted to candy or over consuming candy. It's also bread, pasta, cookies, cakes, crackers, chips, things like that. So bread and cereal grains were all on the bottom, and they were saying, 6 to 8 servings of that. And then above that, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of vegetable, and then above that, some dairy, and then some meat, and then sweets at the top, sugar at the top. That actually, like the food pyramid actually allowed for sweeteners and sugars to be added. It's been flipped. And so now we know that the most important thing to get in the diet are going to be low glycemic vegetables, things that don't spike your blood sugar levels, healthy proteins from certain plants that are high in protein, but mainly concentrated proteins from animal products, and then some dairy. And today is not about like what kind of diet. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what I know and what I see clinically, but I don't think we should spend our time. If people have questions about vegan diets, vegetarian diets, where to get protein, that's fine. We're going to talk about protein as a stabilizing factor in blood sugar dysregulation. But in general, concentrated protein from animal foods are one of the most stabilizing foods for blood sugar dysregulation. So that's why it's so important we put it at the top. And then healthy fats are right below that. And then we put the fruits in. We put the fruits in with starch too. So fruits don't equate vegetables. Fruits have more sugar, so that we need fewer fruits and more vegetables, and then whole grains are definitely at the bottom. So it's completely flipped, much more as far as the grains go. And grains are easy, they're cheap, they fill us up, but the problem is if you overconsume them, blood sugar is going to spike, and then it's going to bottom out, and you're going to store fat, and you're going to promote inflammation in the body. So remember, I said earlier, like food is not good or bad. And this is really important in the way that I coach people. I mean, 20 years of doing this, my devotion, my promise, my commitment is to the person sitting right in front of me. I mean, to the global picture too, but I never want anyone to walk away from an experience with me feeling shamed or feeling like they can't or feeling judged. I want people to feel seen. I want them to feel validated, and I want them to remember their power, right? So I don't want any charge, any black, white kind of, dualistic thinking about food. It does what it does, and that's it. And as long as you make that choice about the food based on how it's going to affect your body, there's no shame associated with it. So we just want to focus on the facts associated with how food behaves in the body. How is it affecting the biochemistry of glucose and insulin? Will it spike your blood sugar levels? And if it does, how high? Is it going to promote insulin? If you eat it regularly, is it going to promote insulin resistance? Okay, so that's your choice. We can manage insulin resistance through medications and supplements and things like that, or you can just choose to minimize this food in your diet. How it affects your microbiome. So is it feeding the bad bacteria and the fungi in the gut? Do you walk around suffering with gas and bloating and SIBO and chronic diarrhea and IBS and those kinds of things? Are you burping regularly? Well, all that is affected by your microbiome. And so how is the food that you're eating affecting your microbiome? Is it inflammatory or not? Do you hurt when you eat it? So like me, I have a lot of autoimmune stuff. If I eat gluten, certain kinds of gluten specifically, my hands will hurt so badly. I can't even move them. So I just stay away from it. It's my choice. I love bread. I love good sourdough bread. And I can have a teeny tiny bit of it, but I avoid gluten and everything else because it's inflammatory for me. And this is going to be basically, it'll be based on your physiology too. Is it inflammatory or not? And inflammation can manifest in lots of different ways. If your body or digestive capacity can actually process the food, so maybe it's a healthy food like avocado, and say avocado we know has beneficial fats in it. We know that it can promote it's part of an anti-inflammatory diet. But if you eat more avocado than you have the capacity to digest, it's going to cause nausea. It can cause biliary sludge, so your gallbladder is not going to work as well as it should. It can cause gas and bloating and can cause actually gas pain in some people, floating stools. And people would, it's not just like avocados in the good pile or in the good category and not in the bad category. It's like, how do you digest it and how much can you digest? And so I always say, especially when we're talking about like detoxification or metabolism, it's an input-output issue. How much of what you're eating can your body efficiently use and eliminate? If you can have a little bit of sugar every single day, like I definitely eat a little bit of dark chocolate every single day. My coworkers would probably say she does not eat a little bit of dark chocolate every single day. But the amount of dark chocolate that I eat, I can process that. I don't have a problem with it. So it's how much can you use efficiently without causing health problems? So this is gonna speak to the question about the ACEs score. So dysregulated cortisol and bouncy blood sugar can definitely promote prediabetes, insulin resistance. This is what we're trying. This is really it, right? Like, why do we care? Because we want to prevent chronic illness. Because we want our hormones to be balanced. Because we want to have energy. Because we want to have good sleep. We want to have balanced moods. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, directly raises blood sugar. And it prompts the body to release stored glucose for immediate energy. So your stress hormone is going to, if you are chronically stressed, if you are skipping meals, if you have a history of trauma and your nervous system just kind of stays wired all the time, you are more likely to have blood sugar dysregulation issues, especially if you're not eating regularly throughout the day. So you might just tend towards high cortisol, separate from what you're eating. So this is why it's so important to implement some of these big ideas we'll talk about here in a minute. We know that chronic stress leads to persistently high cortisol. So the blood sugar goes up and then you get insulin resistance. And so if you imagine like just the function, okay, what we're trying to do is get glucose into the cell to be used to make energy. So insulin, if you imagine like here's your cell, the cell is like the garage, okay? The glucose is like the cars and the insulin is the garage door opener. We need the garage door opener to open the garage so that the car can get in. But if your driveway or if the road is just full with all kinds of cars that kind of look the same, and each one's got a different garage door opener, you're trying to click all these garage door openers and the garage door is not opening. Meanwhile, all these cars are backing up. You just can't get that glucose into the cell. And so you end up with a lot of glucose in the bloodstream and you end up with a lot of insulin in the bloodstream. The glucose is going to cause damage to those vessels. The insulin is going to cause damage to the nerves. It's a problem. So the whole thing is to minimize overconsumption of sugar to promote insulin sensitivity. I hope that makes sense to everyone. And so when you have high cortisol, you are going to be releasing excess cortisol from the liver. And then high cortisol will promote brain food cravings. So it kind of blocks your ability to make a good decision about food. So think about that. Like when you're super stressed, if you've gone a long period of time without eating, you get fuzzy brain, you need to pick me up. We go for an energy drink, or we just need something. Like it doesn't even have to be something sweet. It can be like you just don't want to go and make the piece of salmon and sweet potato or greens that you had planned for dinner. You're like, let's go out for Thai food. Let's go get pizza. If your blood sugar drops a little bit and your cortisol comes up, your brain's going to be like, get something delicious and get it quick. And this is really hard to override. So you have to always be thinking ahead of time to prevent this from happening. It's not a willpower thing in the moment. It's not. It's a what happened for the 3 days before kind of thing. So I put some arrows in here just to kind of go along the pathway. You have increased stress, increased sugar cravings, increased sugar consumption. That raises glucose in the blood. Then you have increased insulin to try to get the sugar into the cell. Then the blood sugar drops. Then your cortisol rises. So especially if it's going up and down, cortisol will rise. You get increased fight, flight, increased anxiety. So then you're feeling a little stressed out and afraid. And then there's an increased need to soothe or calm because it does feel good, right? It's raising dopamine. So then you have something sugary again. And then you get that blood sugar going up again. And it's a cycle. We call it the cookie cycle. So it's complicated. Yeah, it's complicated. So this is just a review of what I just said, and it says it a little bit differently, and so everyone will have the slides. And I put it in here. I was like, well, do I need both of them? This is another way to say it. So if you want to come back to this slide later. So that's how chronic. So we have this issue with ultra-processed foods, the inherent addictiveness of sugar. And then we have a food system that's creating ultra-processed foods and making sweet food and high glycemic foods available everywhere. We had an upside down food pyramid that was promoting plenty of carbohydrates. So that gets into your mind too. You're like, oh, it's okay if I have like a big bowl of rice. We talked about stress. Now we're talking about just like some of the biochemistry stuff and the food stuff. So on your tongue, you have these different spots for different tastes. And what we have done over time is decrease the bitter foods. So we eat fewer, we don't do digestive bitters like citrus peel and artichoke leaf. Like we used to use these foods inherently to stimulate digestion on the tongue and in the brain. Now we prefer the sweet taste over the bitter taste. And so a lot of people don't want to eat a whole lot of vegetables, or they need a sauce on vegetables. Some people like sweet and vegetables. You can like both. But there are a lot of people who have a tough time getting off sugar because they don't really like vegetables. And that's really the ticket. So when we overeat sweet, we actually lose that taste for bitter. And it can be artificial sweeteners too. It's so concentrated sweet that it just dominates the whole palate. And then that's going to be sending the message to your brain like everything needs to be this sweet. So again, bitter foods will instigate digestion. Bitter foods start to increase your salivary amylase, and they tell your brain like, hey, we're thinking about food now. And then that tells your stomach like, hey, we're thinking about food now. So then you start to produce your digestive, your hydrochloric acid in your stomach. And then that tells the rest of your digestion like, hey, get ready. There's some good stuff coming. If you're just doing sweet, you don't get that initiation of that process. So then not only are you eating something that's sending kind of a mixed signal or an inappropriate signal to the brain, but you're also not going to be breaking down your food. And when you don't break down your food, that's when we start to overgrow bad bacteria and fungi in the gut. Bad bacteria, opportunistic bacteria. And when you have balanced taste buds, it does promote nutritional diversity. So you're interested in all kinds of things, not just processed foods, not just food that's coming out of the freezer and you're popping in the microwave, not just like a big bowl of, rice and some like coconut aminos or soy sauce on it. You are actually craving and desiring nutritional diversity on your plate. And then we know that if you stay in that state of chronic stress, it does decrease your taste perception. It will totally dull it. So good food doesn't, like good whole foods doesn't taste good to you. You need that high stimulus. It needs to be potent, it needs to be salty, it needs to be sweet, it needs to be super fatty. It needs to be entertaining. And I teach this in my groups, that food is not your entertainment. Food is not here to entertain you. Food is here to nourish you. But when we're chronically stressed, we want food to entertain us. And it's because we are in this fight flight state and we are seeking something to pull us out of our discomfort. And so when you eat something that is highly palatable or really sweet or activating those centers in the brain, it does pull you out temporarily out of fight flight by raising the dopamine. It's the same thing as like playing video games or you know, having a drink or, you know, just distracting yourself basically from the discomfort. So that is a whole nother topic. I do love talking about that, being okay with your discomfort to help calm your nervous system, moving through those big emotions. But on a, you know, from a sugar balance, taste bud standpoint, when you're chronically stressed, you're going to want food that tastes really exciting. It does only take about 2 weeks to reset the palate. So we're going to talk about ways to do that, but you just need to, you actually just need to kind of flood the system with the bitter foods and the foods that may not taste as exciting. And after 2 weeks, those super, like those hyperactivated taste buds in the front will kind of calm down and they don't need so much excitement. So the ways that we stabilize your blood sugar is with protein and vegetables. We don't necessarily, when we're talking about cutting back on sugar or cutting sugar out, most people know if you've tried to do this before, there's always like a rebound. And so people resist restriction, and that's by design. Like we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to, nothing in the system is designed to be extreme. It's supposed to be kind of smooth. The body loves rhythm. It loves predictability. It likes steadiness. So instead of focusing on restricting foods, we want to focus on adding foods and then let the system recalibrate. So protein and vegetables will do that. When you eat protein, a small amount at every meal, you will stabilize your blood glucose. When we talk about glycemic index, we're talking about how certain foods affect your blood sugar levels. Something low glycemic, like a protein or a healthy fat, will not spike your blood sugar levels. Something high glycemic, like fruit or sweets or processed carbs, will spike your blood sugar levels. Our goal is to avoid the spikes and the drops and just to stay in rhythm. So protein regularly throughout the day, about 3 solid servings, can stabilize your blood sugar levels to prevent that spike and that bottoming out. Excuse me. And key sources of protein are going to be those lean meats we talked about, poultry and fish, eggs, full fat yogurt, full fat like A2 yogurt. We want the good stuff. Nothing sweetened, no flavored yogurts or anything like that. They just, again, those are engineered for your satisfaction and your entertainment. Tofu, tempeh, lentils, beans, and nuts. So we don't want to depend on lentils, beans, and nuts for your protein sources. Remember, lentils and beans have a lot of carbohydrate too. And then nuts have a lot of fat. So if you overeat those, it's maybe too much carb and too much fat for the system. Plant-based, my favorite plant-based protein sources are going to be hemp seeds and pumpkin seeds, sprouted pumpkin seeds. And you can get both of those easily at Costco. So here's how protein stabilizes blood sugar and reduces cravings. You get slow glucose absorption. So protein slows the speed at which carbohydrates are digested and converted into sugar, and that creates gradual sustained energy instead of that rapid spike. This is glycemic load. So you probably have already heard this, like if you're going to eat an apple, eat it with a handful of nuts. In a blood sugar in a system that's got stable blood sugar, you can eat an apple by itself. But if you're prone to swing and to spike, then you want to eat an apple with like a handful of nuts. So the apple is high glycemic, the nuts are low glycemic. You are narrowing the gap and creating a lower glycemic load. So protein and fat, actually also fat, slow the speed of carbohydrate digestion. Protein increases satiety. Triggers a signal in the brain that tells you that you're full. And so the more carbohydrate you have, the more insulin resistance you have, the more leptin resistance you're going to have too. It's that leptin, that hormone I talked about a second ago, it just doesn't respond. You get leptin resistance. So high protein foods actually can promote leptin sensitivity, and then enhances this insulin response. So it encourages just a more stable insulin response because you're not getting this big spike in glucose. It's a good time to stop for questions. Are there questions?
There are a ton of questions. How many slides do you have left?
Yeah, let me see. Maybe like 3, 4.
Okay, why don't we finish your slides and we'll go into questions.
Okay, so I do promote a whole foods diet for blood sugar balance. This is the thing. Don't focus on taking things away. What can you add? What can you add? What can you add? Whole foods. Focus on vegetables and clean proteins. So the Whole30 is great. So I'm not going to give you a very specific diet, but I'm going to give you resources to go to so that you can just be supported. So the Whole30 I recommend all the time. The reason I recommend it is it's everywhere. You can go in big Facebook groups to get support. There are tons of free resources, and then certain foods at the stores can actually have the Whole30 approved label. You just focus on the food list. You don't focus on what you have to take out, just focus on what you can eat. Like, get excited about making new foods. That's a big thing too. It's like some people don't like to cook. That's a big barrier if you don't like to cook. But the Whole30 anti-inflammatory diet is a great place to start if you just want to do 30 days, take foods out, and then slowly add them back in to see how your body responds. The paleo diet is a low glycemic diet. We were talking about low glycemic load. It's whole foods. It takes out gluten, legumes, grains, dairy. It's not a diet for vegetarians. Mediterranean diet can totally be a diet for pescatarians or vegetarians. Healthy fats, lots of vegetables, lean proteins, and some dairy. This is probably the most sustainable diet because it allows some grain and some dairy to come in. And then the Mito food plan, I'll show you all that if we have time, but it focuses on nutrient density without major exclusion. So you're not really focused on restriction, you're just focused on the most nutrient dense foods, which, like, if you can just focus on this food list and make sure you're getting enough of those in, and you still want your dark chocolate or you still want your little cupcake or whatever, you can have it because you're not going to be depending on high glycemic, highly processed foods for nutrition for your brain. Biggest, if you walk away with nothing but this, eat more green food. Green foods contain thylakoids, which are natural GLP-1 promoters. Thylakoids are in the chloroplasts in green food. So it's what makes food green. If you just did nothing else, didn't worry about taking out artificial sweeteners or sugar, and you just wanted to, but you wanted to work on this, just start eating like 5 to 7 cups of green leafy vegetables a day. That's it. If you're a person who's like, I just can't take anything away, I can do one thing. This is the one thing that you do. It will just naturally start to retrain those taste buds. It reduces glucose spikes, enhances satiety, and reduces your cravings. It improves long-term glucose control. And then it's like the easiest, cheapest therapy that you can do for blood sugar dysregulation. Also, build muscle. So we know how much better we feel when we walk after a meal. Muscles use glucose completely independently of the insulin response. So the more muscle mass you have, the more efficient you are at glucose metabolism. So you don't have to do a whole lot. Actually, women do really well just lifting weights twice a week or just going and walking with a weighted vest. But the more muscle you have, the more efficient you are, the less insulin resistant you are. And so eating more whole foods, green foods, and protein, and then putting on muscle can reverse insulin resistance and prediabetes. Getting daylight, just like being outside, going outside in the morning can help to reset your leptin signaling. We won't spend too much time on that, but just know that like daylight's good for you. And then certain therapies that can be used to support blood sugar. I love berberine. It's a supplement I use with a lot of people, and it helps to stabilize the blood glucose, especially with the cortisol, because it actually modulates a cortisol metabolism pathway. So it can stabilize mood, it can stabilize blood glucose, it helps build muscle, it helps to improve fatty acid metabolism. So it's a very popular supplement for blood sugar regulation. Cortisol manager, a blend of nutraceuticals to help regulate the nervous system. L-theanine is in cortisol manager. It really calms the nervous system. Rhodiola rosea is an adrenal support supplement that helps the healthy response to stress. So people who are really easily overwhelmed. Minerals, we've probably heard of zinc and chromium. Things like cinnamon can help support blood sugar balance. We talked earlier about if your mitochondria are starving just from nutrient deficiency, you're not going to be able to metabolize your glucose either. So things like CLA and carnitine are helpful. There are medications that help with blood sugar stability. Metformin is really, really popular. It's given to people with PCOS, prediabetes. You don't have to be diabetic to take it. And it has a similar mechanism of action as the berberine. The berberine just is not just one thing. It has more action than the metformin. So a lot of people will switch from metformin to berberine. GLP-1s are a hot topic, and I have a slide at the end. It's kind of bonus if we have time to talk about it, if people have questions about that. And then one of the most effective and most powerful things you can do for yourself is to get a continuous glucose monitor. It will show you when your blood sugar is spiking, and you can connect your blood sugar spikes and your blood sugar dips with mood symptoms, gut symptoms too. So, and sleep. I think those are highly effective. So this is our big idea slide, and then we can do questions. Yeah, perfect. Okay, if you just do these things, you'll be good. You want to Eat regularly. That's an overstatement. I just want everybody to know that. That's an overstatement. Eat regularly throughout the day, not grazing. Snacking is different. Breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, and dinner. Don't miss this afternoon snack. So if you're working and you have lunch from 12 to 1, it needs to be the biggest meal of the day, or at least the most nutrient-dense meal. Your lunch should be the most nutrient-dense meal of the day. Everybody's looking at lunch like, oh, I've got a cheese stick and a yogurt cup. I'm just kidding. That's just so common. We grab these kinds of things for lunch, but we want salad with protein on it. This afternoon snack is so important because you go from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock with very little food. That's when most of this carb eating happens. It's when you get home in the evenings. You could probably have eaten well all day, but if you don't eat between lunchtime and dinner time, blood sugar is going to drop, cortisol goes up, we come home, we're stressed out, we're cranky, we're hungry, and we kind of forget about our nutrition, like our optimal plate, and we're just grabbing anything that's in the cupboards. And then your sleep gets messed up, and so on and so on. So regularly throughout the day, focus on protein at every meal, 30 grams 3 times a day. Stay well hydrated. Your electrolyte balance is really important also for glucose metabolism. So if you need to add a pinch of sea salt to your water, do that too. But 60 to 80 ounces of water, not artificially sweetened water, not, a bunch of flavored water. And some people don't like water. It's because they've lost some of that. They've got that like highly sweet taste bud. Avoid all artificial sweeteners and energy drinks. Again, I'm in urogynecology, so we see a lot of leakage. And artificial sweeteners contribute to urinary incontinence for sure, but they also dull those taste buds, dull the dopamine receptors, and they make it really hard to reduce sweet in the diet. Also, caffeine exacerbates all the cortisol dysregulation. So if you do have a high ACEs score, you don't want to be doing lots of caffeine, for sure not the energy drinks. They just are too hard on the body. Add loads of vegetables. I think we covered that one. Loads of vegetables. Heal your gut. So if you've got gut symptoms, it's going to be harder to get off sugar or to regulate your blood sugar. So work with someone who can help you with that. Put on muscle, walk after meals, and then focus on healthy and consistent sleep. Remember, daylight in the morning and making sure that you're going to bed at the same time, because the leptin and the ghrelin are dependent on a healthy circadian rhythm. So I know I started talking fast at the end, but we've got time for questions.
Yay, we got time for questions. Okay,
Okay.
I think I'm going to start with the most general questions, and I probably won't get to everyone, so be patient with me. One of the questions is cooking the vegetables, if you're cooking your leafy green vegetables, does that impact that nutrient that you mentioned, thiakides or
Thylakoid. I think if you
Yes.
overcook, it doesn't destroy it completely. If you overcook something, it's going to destroy all the nutrients. But just my favorite way to cook these vegetables, is to steam them or very lightly saute, just to make the color really bright, and then stop cooking them. And you'll preserve the nutrients in them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Wish I could see you. If I stop sharing, can I see you?
You can, yeah, you can. Let's see.
Oh, here's my email address is on here too. If people have questions, you can put it in the chat too.
So fruit, you mentioned, it's high in sugar. You've got fiber. It's nutritious and delicious, but we want to minimize.
Yeah, fruit's
that.
no, fruit's perfect. Fruit's amazing. Whole fruit is great. You just want to make sure that you're only getting like 2 to 3 servings a day, and you're not lumping in fruits and vegetables together. They're not the same. They're just not the same thing. We're talking about vegetables. We're talking about what we call category one vegetables that are low glycemic and don't spike your blood sugar, not the starchy ones. So starchy vegetables and fruits would be kind of in the same category, like a couple servings of each a day. So of course the lower glycemic ones are going to be like your berries, and certain kinds of apples. Bananas are super high glycemic. So you just want to be mindful. Everything is just about being mindful, and you want diversity. You want to eat the rainbow, lots of color. So fruits are not bad. They're great. They're perfect. You've got the fiber. You've got all those nutrients in there. You just don't want to say, oh, I'm eating fruit and that counts for vegetables.
Yeah. So are there any processed foods that are not ultra processed foods? How could you tell the difference?
Yeah, I mean, processed just means taken out of whole form. And so like if you're shopping at the food co-op, or if it's like processed meat, right? This is a good one. If that means it's been cooked, cut, and put in a package like deli meat for you. If it doesn't have a bunch of weird additives in it, that's okay. It's a processed food, but it's not an ultra processed food. So there is a difference. I mean, if you can recognize it in its whole form, if you look at it and you know exactly what it is, and you look at the ingredients, you're like, yeah, that's not adulterated, heavily adulterated. It's not an ultra processed food. The ultra processed foods are going to be the things that are unrecognizable to their original form and have a ton of additives and preservatives and a lot of sugar and salt.
Hold up, Jennifer. I'm going to ask some variety of questions first.
I love these comments, by the way. These are so funny. You guys are cracking me up.
Are sugar alcohols better than sugar for controlling spikes in blood sugar?
Yeah, they don't spike your blood sugar as much. The challenge though is it's still it's a great question. It still goes back to those taste buds, because we actually don't want you swapping out sugar for sweet. Sweet is actually the big deal. It's about those signals. It's about the dopamine. Our nervous systems are just so overwhelmed in general. We're trying to create blood sugar balance and insulin sensitivity to actually help promote steady mood, healthy sleep, decreased inflammation in the body. And so the sugar alcohols aren't going to spike in the same way, but they are going to activate the brain similarly. So we really just want to pull back on the sweeteners altogether.
So here's a related question. Is monk fruit or plant-based sweeteners better than other sweeteners?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I got distracted by someone's comment. Are they better?
Yeah, is monk fruit or plant-based sweeteners better than other sweeteners?
Yes. So artificial sweeteners like sucralose, which is Splenda, aspartame, saccharin, those are toxic. So I won't say they're good or they're bad. They are a toxin for the body. The body has a really tough time with those. They're highly addictive. They dull the taste buds. They kind of ruin other food for you. There's an association with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, other neurodegenerative diseases with those. Not so with things like monk fruit and xylitol. Those don't spike the blood sugar as much as like the other ones do. They don't do as much damage to the system. But again, it's like we just want to cut back on sweet as much as we can.
Okay, Jennifer.
Sabina was just saying that the tongue, like retraining the tongue, that is what we want to do. We want to retrain your taste buds. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jennifer. Can you unmute? See if I can unmute you. Looks like I can't unmute you somehow.
There's a couple things in the chat. So number of ingredients on the package, if it's too many chemicals and it's processed, yes. So the addition of chemicals would indicate that it's processed or heavily processed. The milligrams of berberine, this is not a medical recommendation. I can tell you that the studies show that 1,500 milligrams of berberine, 500 3 times a day, is effective at reducing fatty acid metabolism. 500 milligrams twice a day is supportive in maintaining stable blood glucose levels.
I've heard that fiber is a good way to satiate yourself and prevent sugar cravings. Any takes on this?
Absolutely. So, I mean, fiber is really and I didn't even say the word fiber in my whole slide deck. Sorry. So fiber definitely slows the spiking. That's why whole fruit's wonderful. You don't want to do fruit juice. You want to do whole fruit. Fiber is going to slow the absorption or the breakdown of carbohydrates. So when you eat processed foods, a lot of the fiber is removed. But if you're eating things like whole grains, you have fiber that's going to slow the spike. So yes, fiber is essential for not just feeding the good bugs in the gut, but for sure regulating carbohydrate metabolism.
Does cooking meat too high or heat bad for protein intake? Does it matter about the meat temperature when I eat it?
So overcooking meat you'll lose some of the nutrients in it. But this is an important question. So like searing, grilling, these increase what are called advanced glycation end products. Anything that's got glyc, G-L-Y-C, is going to be sugar associated with sugar. And so the idea when you overheat meats or when you char them, sear them too much, and you're depending on that, you're going to get these elevated advanced glycation end products, and those can be inflammatory to the system. Better to eat your meat medium rare if you can tolerate it. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I worked in the restaurant business for a long time too, and I love searing my meat. I feel like it's the best way to enjoy meat, but like sous vide or steaming your meat, which is not as appetizing, slow roasting it is a good way to do it.
Hey, is hydrogen water a scam, or is it truly good for your gut?
Oh, I love questions like this. It's not a scam. I don't know a whole lot about it. I used to know more about it. We used to recommend hydrogen water. Everything is about decreasing free radical damage in the body, and all of these things. The hydrogen water is about antioxidant function, and that is to improve mitochondrial health, and that's where your energy is generated, and that's where health and disease kind of split is in the mitochondria. And so hydrogen water can be beneficial, but it's not going to do much of anything if you are dealing with this blood sugar, insulin's craziness, roller coaster, and your cortisol is really high. So if you're skipping over a whole foods diet, and I'm not saying you are by any means, but none of these things that seem like outliers, and you question is it a scam or not, are going to be effective if the foundations aren't covered. And that's regulating your blood sugar, eating a whole foods diet, making sure that your gut is healthy, and making sure that your nervous system is calm.
What about sparkling waters without added sugar sweeteners like
LaCroix and stuff?
Spindrift?
Those are fine. Yeah, so Spindrift I recommend. I also recommend getting those, like using a Soda Stream or getting a water pitcher with the infuser core in it, where you can put your own fruits and herbs in there. Sparkling water without sweeteners is fine. Anything that says 0 calorie, no sugar, anything like that, those are going to be the things that are going to be affecting your taste buds in your brain.
What about
But
fasting?
you don't want to drink too much of those too. You want to, I mean, the body loves water. It really loves water.
Does fasting cleanse your body before introducing foods, or would you suggest elimination diet to see what your body can handle?
It's fasting. I'm really visual. So yeah, I like that you put cleanse in quotes, diet in quotes. So fasting gives your body a break. That's what I like to say. Gut break, just gut rest. And so I don't really recommend like extended fasting unless you have stable blood sugar levels. If you fast and your blood sugar levels drop because you don't have stable blood sugar levels, your cortisol is going to go through the roof. You're going to feel terrible. You're going to have anxiety. You're not going to be very nice to be around. So fasting needs to be guided, and you just need to focus on blood sugar regulation and decreasing inflammation in the body before you go to that. You can do restricted feeding windows where you start a little later and end a little earlier, but trying to fast like through a busy work day or when you've got other stuff going on is really difficult, just because we're all kind of like over functioning everywhere. It is nice to do like a little reset before you make massive dietary change. So like 3 days where you're just doing like bone broth and some steamed veggies or just green juice. That's just fine as long as you're keeping your blood sugar levels stable. So remember, fasting, if you go too long and your blood sugar levels aren't stable, meaning that you don't have the leptin sensitivity and the glucagon doing its thing in the body to stabilize your blood sugar without food. If you don't have those systems in place, the blood sugar is going to drop if you don't give your body food. And then the cortisol is going to spike. Bone broth and veggies sound really good right now. I know I'm totally hungry. Did not eat enough before we did this. Not following my own advice.
Should you be eating protein within 30 to 45 minutes of waking up?
Again, it depends on your blood sugar stability. So if you are a person who starts to get foggy really soon and you need to eat sooner, that's fine. All this has to do with your adaptive capacity and your blood sugar regulation system, right? So if you are a little more fat adapted and you can go a little bit longer, then that's actually good. You wake up and you start to I don't want to say detox, but you start to clear things out of the liver if you can go a little bit, like an hour or two without food first thing in the morning. If you have blood sugar handling issues, you want to do protein first thing in the morning. Amino acids, what protein breaks down into, stabilizes blood sugar levels. So yeah, if you have those issues, starting the morning or starting the day with protein is good. It's such a I said it's a definitely a complex conversation, but we're really focused on stability, stability, stability. I don't know what that means. Or I guess how do we know if we're stable? Oh, okay. The continuous glucose monitor is a great idea. If you have a tough time kind of tuning into your own symptoms and how you feel, so you can track. You can do like a 7-day food journal where you're not intending to change anything. You just want to see what you do. If you like have sleep issues, or if you have anxiety, or if you have gut issues, and you're like, what do I eat? When do I eat it? And how does it affect me? You can just log that. Kim, if you'll remind me, I will send a 7-day food and mood and physical activity journal out to your whole crew.
That'd be great. Thank you.
But you're looking for mood stability, decreased anxiety, sustained energy without needing caffeine or pick-me-ups in the afternoon, being able to skip a meal without your blood sugar bottoming out. Those are all signs of good blood sugar handling. We say blood sugar handling, like how do you handle your blood sugar, or how does your body handle blood sugar shifts? If you skip meals and you get fuzzy and major brain fog and irritable and fatigued, if you are a hangry person, if someone in your life is like, you did not eat lunch, that means that you have lower blood sugar stability or more blood sugar instability.
All right. You guys, it is 1 o'clock. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to all of your questions. Thank you so much, Allison, for being
My
here.
pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a wonderful afternoon. We will send slides and a food tracker out to everyone, and we'll have this presentation recorded.
Yeah, thank you so much
again.
for having me. Thanks for the good questions.